Welcome to the Awakening Women Show. I'm your host, Leanne Oaten, a former counselor with a background in counseling psychology. I'm a mentor for high-achieving, ambitious women with over 13 years in the mental health and empowerment space. I've guided hundreds of women and have influenced over 100,000 through my platforms, podcast, and other courses, programs, and mentorship. I'm also the creator of the Relationship Clarity program, formerly known as End the Cycle, which you will hear me mention a lot of times as we go through the episodes. This program is to help women break free from destructive relationship cycles and come to clarity and power about their next step. This show is for the woman who knows her relationship struggles go deeper than the usual conflict. You know there's something more going on, but you can't quite nail it down or pinpoint what that is. You'll find clarity here, empowerment, truth, and validation. Clarity on whether your relationship can be healed or whether it's time to reclaim your life and move forward. What started as me sharing my own experiences quickly became a movement because the truth is, so many ambitious, successful women are stuck in confusing and draining relationship dynamics while trying to rise in every other area of their life, career, motherhood. This is you, you're not alone, and you don't have to keep living this way. Inside this podcast, you'll hear some of my most downloaded episodes, plus fresh content designed to help you break patterns, reclaim your wholeness, and decide once and for all if this relationship is where you belong. I'm so glad you found this space. Let's dive in. Welcome to this edition of the Awakening Women podcast. I'm your host, Leanne Oaten, and in this episode, we're talking about the importance of high-level, successful women and why high-achieving women actually are the ones that need the highest level of support, why it's important no matter where you are on the journey, whether you're still in the relationship or you know you need to leave and you're making your way out, or you have already left and you're on the other side, but you're still really having trouble with moving on. We're going to talk about why we need the right kind of support and the unfortunate side of things if you are trying to navigate this alone without support to actually help you move forward. But first, I want to talk about the power of the collective and the reason why I created the collective. So I had this vision because I've worked with so many clients on a one-on-one basis as a former counselor, and then I moved into one-on-one coaching online, and I slowly started to add in groups, but to be honest, the majority of the work that I was doing was behind the scenes with private work with clients. And I remember always feeling like as much as they were getting so much from the one-on-one, I would be working with several clients and then thinking, oh my gosh, I wish I could connect these two women because they're having parallel experiences. Could you imagine if they could come together with all of what we're learning here, what they're learning in working with me, and they could come together in kind of a mastermind and like feed off of each other with this new energy of growth. But because of confidentiality, obviously that would never happen. And so I had this vision of what if I could have a group of women that were operating on that higher level, that are either former private clients or they're working with me on a VIP level, and I could bring them all together. So that was a vision that I had quite a long time ago, but I didn't really bring it to fruition. And there's lots of reasons for that because it's all been an evolution of myself too. When I began Awakening Women in 2019, I've changed so much. I'm no longer the same person, the same woman that started that. And so I've brought my evolution into the work that I'm doing. And the real premise behind the collective, so it's the self-sourced woman is the identity that the women are stepping into in that space, where we are sourcing our own power, our own validation, our own everything, like our own stability, our own way of being is no longer linked to a man needing to be or do or be someone that is going to help us to create that happiness. We create that from within, from self, from source. And then when the time is right and we make the choice to join in a relationship, that it's not coming from emptiness or neediness or desperation or clinging. It's coming from wholeness and it's coming from conscious choice to be in that. It's not about being in a trauma bond or an addiction or a neediness or a dependency in an unhealthy way. It's a conscious choice that women breaking these patterns are making so that they're no longer sacrificing themselves for a man. So we do that through lots of different ways in the collective, but really the biggest part of the vision was based on something Napoleon Hill said, and I've read his book so many times, Think and Grow Rich, but he says that he has this principle that centers on the idea that coordinating minds in harmony for a definite purpose creates a powerful, unbeatable force. And his famous line is, when two or more people actively engage in the pursuit of a definite purpose with a positive mental attitude, constitute an unbeatable force. He believed that no mind is complete alone and that the alliances spark greater enthusiasm, imagination, and success, allowing individuals to tap into shared knowledge and achieve far more than they would alone. So when we have a mastermind effect going on, it is when we have two or more people of like mind gathering together with a very similar goal or outcome. And so it's the coordination of knowledge and effort in the spirit of harmony between two or more people for the attainment of a definite purpose. The unbeatable force is two or more people actively engaged in the pursuit of a definite purpose with a positive mental attitude constitutes an unbeatable force. Stimulating minds, a mastermind alliance properly conducted stimulates each mind in the alliance to move with enthusiasm, personal initiative, imagination, and courage to a degree far above that which an individual experiences when moving without such an alliance. Growth through connection. No mind is complete by itself. It needs contact and association with other minds to grow and expand. And the power multiplier. Harmonious alliances multiply individual energy and power, achieving goals impossible alone by drawing on a collective wisdom and resources. So the core idea of the mastermind is it isn't just a group, it's a synergy where combined minds working in harmony toward a shared goal create a third mind, which is the mastermind, that amplifies power, knowledge, and capability far beyond individual limits, fostering massive achievement. Now, I have seen this time and time again. Now, I have obviously, with my one-on-ones, women get profound results, but I will say that I see massive and rapid change that honestly, over the years, I've done this for over 6 years now with Awakening Women, helping women break free from unhealthy relationship cycles. And I have seen very quick turnarounds. Within like 30 days, I have had women say, well, that's that. I'm out. I've found my new place. I'm sending him the divorce papers. I'm out of here. I found another place, or I'm going to go stay in a hotel, or I've already told him I want a divorce and I'm making my way out really quickly. And they came in obviously not sure where they were going to go, but they came in, trusted the process, and some women move really quickly. So part of this is this unseen force, whatever you want to call it, is the third mind. That's how I see what he is saying, is that there is another force at play. And so things can start to move and happen really, really quickly when you are part of a collective like that. I had an experience like this in 2019. I joined a transformation program with one of my mentors. And that was the year that my business went from like just not great income to 6 figures really, really quickly. This was very much consciousness level work. This was identity shifting work. It was some NLP work. It was unconscious programming. And so it helped me break through my patterns, and then seeing other people posting their big breakthroughs and where they got out of their comfort zones, and just being in that energy was a large part of it, I believe. I also that same year joined a business program with another one of my mentors. These two are still mentors to me, and being able to go and post in the business group whenever, or bounce ideas off of like-minded people who are doing this expansive entrepreneurship and using these expansive energetic principles that are taught by the mentor. And so everybody's operating on that same level. They're not operating from scarcity or I can't do this or nothing's working. Everybody comes into the group with asking questions that are solution focused, that are asking to shift and grow. And so I'm not speaking about this from lack of my own experiences. I've had so much mentorship. And, I think that what we can do is end up getting caught in the therapy trap, which I've talked about here, that, you can only do so much therapy and talking about your pain before that just becomes your identity. That just becomes your reality and you never leave that reality. And so what I have noticed is that high-level women, high-achieving career entrepreneurial women, these are high-earning, executive-level, professional women, they've already done all of the insight gathering and the talking and the talking. They've processed their childhood to the nth degree. They've named their traumas. They've talked about their traumas. They've had EMDR therapy and different forms of trauma processing therapies. They have understood their patterns to the point where they could explain them to me verbatim. They could define different characteristics that they were seeing in their partner and maybe what their traumas are. They could define it all. They are able to intellectualize their pain to the letter. So they're not avoiding the work. The women that come in to work with me, that's absolutely not what they're doing, because they've done years, sometimes decades of it, but they've still remained stuck, still remained in the same patterns. And so then you can start to feel quite defeated and like, what now? Like, what is wrong with me? I'm doing all this work and nothing is working. But the thing is that they're missing the structured forward motion, that containment during the discomfort, when they're bumping up against resistance that is inevitable when you are busting through really deeply entrenched patterns, and they're lacking an environment that is calibrated to the level of their identity that they are stepping into. So when they are stepping out of the patterns, a lot of shit can go sideways. Things can come up out of the woodwork that they were not expecting, out of left field, because everything that is associated with the identity you're leaving behind must fall away as you're stepping into the new one. It's the only way that it can be. So we have to realize that, yes, therapy has a place. I will never say it doesn't. It's my original vocation. I love psychology and helping women get in touch with their deeper parts and get in touch emotionally and look into the deeper roots. That's why I got into it, because I geek out on that. I absolutely love doing that kind of work. But I also love doing it with women who can take it and run with it and move forward, not stay stuck in the pattern and in the problem. And they're actually taking the actions. Because when you're in therapy, that's not the case. There's typically not accountability or strategy necessarily, or really, they don't really have time to go into, okay, here's your plan for the next 30 days and let's hold you accountable each week. You have to go into the office to get any type of accountability, if you even get any. So therapy and EMDR types therapies are excellent if you have never talked about your trauma. You've never actually been able to speak about it in a safe space. You want to understand on a deeper level things that have happened to you, and you have not taken any time to actually verbalize and process it in a safe space with a skilled clinician, with someone that you really trust. You are having acute trauma response where you are in a crisis situation that you are feeling out of control of your emotional state. That would be a time to go and get trauma therapy. Or if you're just really starting to have any type of language that you're putting toward things that have happened to you. So those are things where therapy can help to an end degree, right? Therapy actually isn't meant to be a longer term container, because clients can become very dependent on the counselor and even form unhealthy enmeshment with a counselor or a codependent relationship with the counselor, because they just use it as a crutch for too long without any forward momentum. But what I've noticed, and this was true for me, is that high achieving women, we reach a moment where talking about the pain and the problems in the past no longer creates any movement. It actually can keep you feeling pretty stuck. You can leave one of those therapy sessions and feel worse than when you got in there. You just keep revisiting the same past, the dark stuff, and it's just reinforcing the identity that you are trying to grow out of, rather than evolving into the next identity. And weekly sessions can start to feel like just maintenance, like drudgery, like you're just going to clock in, but not actually gaining any momentum. So what's actually required here when you're at this place is that you don't need any more digging and processing. It's repeating the pattern when you do this. What you actually need is forward movement toward repatterning in real time, the same day, if not within 24 hours, to be able to have that kind of support at your fingertips. And this is where this high level support comes in. And so a quick example, without obviously divulging anything personal, there was an instance over the weekend. I do not go into the groups on weekends. I have boundaries to protect my energy so I can serve at my fullest. So I clock out on the weekends, and I came into the group on Monday and saw something one of the women went through, and all of the women in the group surrounded her and coached her, in a sense, just kind of supported her through what it is that she was going through as she was literally leaving her relationship. And this is the beauty of a collective. And this is the beauty of having a space like this where you can support one another, because every woman in there is at a different stage. Some are leaving, some are still in it. And so there's a way to be paying it forward. There's one woman leaving and everybody is holding space for her. And then there will be another woman leaving and everyone will hold space for her. And I have these goosebumps whenever I talk about it. And when I saw what was going on in the group, when I clocked in this morning, I got chills and goosebumps just seeing how every woman in there showed up. They're there supporting one another. And so this is what's beautiful about being part of a collective energy, being in a space where you really feel like you can be real and just say, this is what's going on for me. I've never been able to put this to words, but this is what's happening. Like, help me decode this. Help me make sense of this. Or is this normal? Or is this normal at this phase? Or what's this about? Or why am I bumping up against this again? To be able to actually get real-time support and answers, which they do in the VIP 3 times a week, is profound. And so the mastermind effect is why the collective elevates everything. It literally is life-changing, because these high-level women are coming together and they're creating space for each other. And so this is what happens, is that when they can start to co-regulate together, in a sense, like offer tidbits of support. There's guidelines for how to best support each other in there. I don't expect anyone in there to be therapists or coaches to, really be giving direct advice, but there's a container around, well, here's what you can do when someone is struggling. Here's how you can support one another. And this is not happening when you join these whatever large Facebook groups that are full of toxic relationship information. What you need is to be away from that kind of information and in a different kind of containment where those kind of conversations are not happening. We're not reliving what he's doing. In fact, that is one of the rules in the collective, is there is no venting about what he's doing. It has to be always focused on their experience. This is what changes everything very, very quickly for women, because they've never actually been guided on how to do this. So when the resistance dissolves because you're seeing another woman walking through it, that is paradigm shifting. Your identity shifts, and then you're seeing other women going through it and you don't feel as scared. You don't feel as terrified. So while the collective, it's not group therapy, but it is its own intelligence that's happening in there. And of course, it is facilitated by me very closely in my coaching hours. And where else are you going to get that level of support? So that was my vision for the collective. It's come from wanting to bring high-level women together and also offer support from me in a way that's sustainable, where I can help more women at the same time. And it's a better use of my time, actually. And it collectively helps everyone, because everyone is benefiting from the time I am putting in. Having the right support is crucial. It's so important, because high achieving women, we typically want to go it alone. We think that if we have to lean on someone, it means we're weak. We don't want to be vulnerable. We don't want to owe anyone anything. And so we typically are those lone wolf women that just go it alone and have a really hard time asking for support, or we feel funny about getting support. we're uncomfortable with vulnerability or sharing what's really going on, because we've had experiences in the past where that didn't go well. So it would make sense. But this is a space that is consciously created so that you get to heal through that. That's what we do in real time in there. You heal through those fears and start to experience what it's like to just be seen, to be heard, to have someone say, yeah, I get that. I went through that too. And here's what I did. Usually what happens with high achieving women and why they need this kind of support the most is that because they're high performing, they typically push through discomfort instead of pausing and going within and figuring out where to go next. They override emotional signs with competence. So they're overriding how they feel with intellectualizing, overfunctioning, overdoing. Then they outgrow old identities faster than their environment can hold. So when they decide to break that paradigm, which is leaving a relationship, they shed a role, they step into a new identity, and then that shift can be really intense. Things can go sideways. So what happens when we get adequate support? When the emotional crashes happen after decisive action, you've got somewhere to land. You can have an outlet for when your nervous system is in overload, when you are experiencing really deep discomfort. It prevents you from relapsing into familiar patterns, which can happen if you are left to your own devices at key critical moments. You might mistake grief and disorientation for failure. You might mistake resistance for, I shouldn't do this. You might abandon the new identity before it has time to actually stabilize because you'll feel pulled back into the old identity, meaning the old ways that you used to operate, or when things start to collapse and fall away from your old life as you're moving. It's literally like the vision I have is you're going across a bridge that's being burned behind you and you're like, wait, can I go back? Can I go back? You can't. You have to keep going. Because going back means, really, if you're going to go back on a burning bridge, well, obviously that's not going to go well. So I think that's a really good analogy. Let's just keep that one. That's a really good one. Hopefully that helps you, because you're still going to want to cling and think, can I go back? Can I leap? Can I make it? How else could I go backward? But you know that you actually can't. You know that you can't. But you need somewhere to fall because you'll feel like you're just free falling and you'll want something to anchor onto and you won't know what that is. And so you might anchor onto unhealthy things or go back to the relationship for comfort. And that's what I see women doing. And so you need somewhere else in the meantime as you're building your new bridge. And because women are experiencing these things, they think, oh, maybe I made the wrong decision, because everything is just suddenly like going to shit, or things aren't going well. But that's not what it is. It's just that everything behind you needs to burn in order for you to keep going forward. And support must come before that leap, because the most dangerous moment isn't necessarily just deciding to leave. It's after, when that old identity dies and your new one has not been fully integrated yet. You're still kind of feeling wobbly, or a lot wobbly, because in between those phases, you need nervous system stabilization, those touch points, identity anchoring, community mirroring, and women who are not afraid to anchor you in the moment. Even if it's just, I see you, or we're here for you, or it's a touch point or a reminder. It's so critical. You don't want to be talking to people who just fearmonger you and bring you down and make you question yourself. So high-level support is not a luxury for high-achieving, success-driven women. It's honestly insurance. It's risk management. And so the bottom line here is that high-achieving women don't need more insight or more processing. They need precision, momentum, containment, collective elevation, and a path forward that matches their fullest and highest good. So when women evolve together, the collective rises, aka why I started the self-sourced collective. And when the collective rises, those old paradigms lose their grip really fast. It can happen very rapidly when you make the decision that you are no longer doing what you have been doing. It starts with a decision that from this point, I am no longer abandoning myself. I am no longer doing these patterns. I'm no longer going to continue this into the next year. It starts with just that decision. You don't necessarily need to know everything beyond that. It starts with a decision. And then you start to follow those breadcrumbs from the universe, or those signs, or those next steps that show up for you, your intuition. You start paying attention to where you're being guided next. Once you make that decision that you're no longer going to do what you've been doing, other things start to come into play. Things do fall away. Situations fall apart. You might have job changes. You might have relationships that you thought you'd have forever suddenly fall away because you saw some truths in those relationships that they weren't as healthy as you thought. Other old forms have to fall away in order to move into the next one. And there's resistance. This is the thing that you've been avoiding by staying where you are. Growth cannot happen by staying in the same place. It can only happen in the comfort zone. So we have to be willing to get uncomfortable and realize we can't bypass that. There is no way to bypass fear or discomfort. You'll have to move through it. It's not going to go away. It doesn't dissolve. It doesn't magically disappear and you have zero questions, zero doubt, zero fear. No, you have to be that woman that is literally walking through that fire and you keep going. So if this is something that you would like support with as we move into 2026, the collective is not open right now at the time of this recording, but I will be opening a new intake in January for a small pod. I'm doing pods with the collective so that I'm able to work at a more deep level with women. And so I will have a VIP pod that is for women who are at the VIP level of the collective. And there will be pods as I am bringing in more groups, because my intent is that I don't want it to become a big, overwhelming group that doesn't feel supportive. So my vision is to have intimate spaces where I can serve women on a multi-dimensional level, but also serving multiple women at one time on a deep level. And so that vision means that I will have to do, and I will do pods. So the January intake for the new pod will be opening at some point. I don't have a date yet, but what you can do is get on the wait list so that you don't miss out. And there is a window of opportunity to get in for that period of time. So if you really are wanting to do something this year, this coming year, that's going to radically change your life in all ways, because there's a ripple effect when you make this decision in your relationship. It does ripple and impact other areas. Get yourself on the wait list. And you can do that by heading to leanneoaten.com/membership. All right, so that wraps up this episode, and I hope that this activated something within you, or it made you realize maybe what's been missing with all the things you've been trying. Have you had the right support? Have you had support from someone who has been through what you've been through, has come out the other side, who has the training, 13 years experience, 6 years of those working in depth with women in these relationships? I know what I'm doing, and I know how to lead women through their bullshit. That's the kind of support you want. No sugarcoating, direct, no bullshit. Then you're going to want to make sure you get in the collective. And I'll chat with you in the next episode. Bye for now.